Hello everyone, my name is Julia, and today I will be guiding you through an at-home restorative yoga practice. And so you might want to grab some things. I'm going to be using pillows. You might want one or two. I have 2 blankets, and I have 2 blocks. If you don't have any yoga blocks at home, that's no big deal. You can just use books, or you can be creative and just use whatever else you can find that will serve its purpose. So, our first pose that we're getting into today is going to be child's pose, and we want to be as supported as possible. So I am going to start by grabbing a blanket, and I'm going to fold it so that it's in like quarters, and then from there you can either roll it up so it becomes a bolster, or you can just kind of fold it into thirds and it'll be about the same shape either way. And this will be used to go between the knees in child's pose. So getting started there, if you need another blanket to put underneath the knees for more support, you can do that. Or if you need to lift the hips a little higher, maybe if you feel a lot of pressure on the knees right now, then you might decide to take 1 or 2 blocks / books, or even maybe like a smaller pillow to put between the knees as well. And just kind of stacking these props until that pressure is taken off the knees. Sometimes you have to play around, sometimes you have to spend a lot of time experimenting just until you can get where it feels comfortable. And then once you find your pose for child, we're just going to melt the chest forward. You might decide to use a pillow underneath the forehead, or even a block or a book or a stack of books underneath the forehead. Or you might just let one side of the head rest down against the earth or onto a pillow. And so when we do restorative yoga, the body tends to get cold. And so if you would like to wrap yourself up in a blanket, or if you have a space heater that you want to use, that might help you to get more comfortable. And then we're going to be holding each pose today for about 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes. I will be setting a timer for that. So go ahead and get cozy in your child's pose while I set my timer. Your arms can just stay next to your sides, letting the shoulders drape over the knees. Resting the head down. If you have your head to one side, I'll let you know when we're about halfway done so that you know to turn your head to the other side so that we stay balanced. Using as many items, as many props, blankets, bolsters, pillows as you need in order to feel supported in this child's pose. When we do restorative yoga, the goal is to be as comfortable and as held as possible. It's very similar to yin yoga, where we hold poses for long durations of time, except in yin, we're doing work to lengthen the connective tissue, to stretch our joints. Whereas in restorative, there is no work. This is just to bring balance to our busy lives and to allow the body to completely heal. Taking just soft breaths. You may get sleepy, and that's okay. And just know that if at any time you feel that you're getting kind of numb, maybe in the legs, that might be an indicator that a nerve is being pinched and that maybe you should come out of the pose. So still listening to our bodies, noticing how it changes as we spend more time in the pose. Many times when we think about yoga, we think about all the poses, but we forget that the poses are just 1/8 of the entire practice, according to Ashtanga, the 8-limb practice developed by Sri Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras. In the Yoga Sutras, he writes, if you can breathe, you can do yoga. That's all it takes. I've decided to put a pillow under my chest to lift my upper body and take more pressure off the knees. That might feel good in your body as well. Feel free to add any props that you need to at any time. It makes more sense to change the pose than to sit in something that you're just not comfortable in. Turning the head if you haven't already. When you're ready, beginning to come up out of child's pose very slow and gently. No hurry and no rush. We'll move the props out of the way, taking the blocks or blankets out from underneath the body, setting them aside, and then coming all the way onto our bellies for this next pose. And so we'll be taking half frog. You might want to have your pillow in front of you. And for this pose, all we're going to do is lie on our bellies and then lift the right knee towards the right armpit. And so it might feel good to put a pillow under the chest and under the head, maybe to hug it. Maybe it feels good to put a blanket underneath this right knee, just in case it's sensitive against the floor, if the floor is really hard. Otherwise, bringing this foot out slightly just so that the foot is right underneath the knee. And then maybe you cover yourself back up with your blanket, getting all nice and cozy. And then we'll do each side for about 5 minutes. So settling back in, and I will set my timer. And this is how I sleep at night. When I teach this class in person, I notice that a lot of people end up getting sleepy in this half frog pose. I've had people fall asleep in it in class before. And I always say, it's okay if you fall asleep during yoga, that just means that your body needed it. That meant you were doing the job of resting and relaxing, which is the whole point of restorative yoga. What happens when the body can completely relax, when we turn off the fight or flight mode, is that it actually begins to heal itself, begins to repair, and it allows us to assimilate all the information that we take in throughout the day, much like dreaming. And our body, our minds begin to make sense, begin to reflect and learn, and process. In each pose, try to find as much stillness as possible. Restorative yoga is very much like a long meditation. See if you can notice distractions, notice sensations, like if you feel an itch or something like that. See what happens if you can just notice it but not react. Eventually, does the distraction go away on its own? In yoga and meditation, it's all about learning how to either control our reactions or to just not react at all. When we react immediately, it's from a place of fear, it's from our primitive roots. For that reason, it's usually irrational. And we don't always want to be making choices from our strategic mind. Not always. We want to act intuitively sometimes. But either way, we want our intentions to come from a place of love. And if we react immediately, that's not always possible. But if we can retrain our brains, we can begin to change. And in yoga, we learn that change is a good thing. Without it, things would be boring. change, there would be no growth, no improvement. Begin to straighten the right leg back down against the mat. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So just bringing the left knee towards the left armpit. All right. And then you may continue to hug your pillow or change as needed. You might just use your hands to rest the chin on or to rest the temple on. And so if your head was turned to one side before, maybe you switch sides now, turn it the other way. And then we'll be on this side for the same amount of time, about 5 minutes. And again, if you want to cover yourself back up, if you were uncovered for some reason. And just get cozy and settle in. Noticing where the mind goes when the body is still. If the mind wants to swim into the past, or if you find yourself worrying about the future, see if you can notice that. Notice those tendencies of where the mind tends to go, those habits. Begin to notice them so that you can begin to change it. Not judging ourselves for it, not trying to control it necessarily, but more just acknowledging it and then creating that shift. And so we can watch our thoughts and observe. Take a step back from them and begin to create distance between you and your thoughts, because you are not your thoughts. And so meditation, it's not about controlling our thoughts, it's about not allowing our thoughts to control you. Slowly and carefully, bring your left leg long against the mat so we're back onto our bellies. Begin to rise up to all fours. And then we'll sink one hip down to come into a seated position. When we get to seated, let's just bring the legs out in front of us. And then we'll stack props up onto our lap. 1 or 2 pillows, or maybe a pillow and a blanket, any combination. I think I'm going to start with 2 pillows, and then maybe as we go along I'll take one away. And then just going to cover up my legs with a blanket, keep my feet warm. And then when you're ready, we'll just gently fold. If you need to put a little blanket underneath just the base of the tailbone, that's fine. To keep the hips elevated a little, to roll the tailbone forward more. That might feel good. You might even put a block of sorts here to rest the forehead onto, or to rest the chin onto. Alright? So that you can completely relax. And we'll be here for about 7 minutes. So if you need to change the pose as we go along, that's fine. Getting as comfortable and relaxed as possible, just completely releasing every muscle. And it's okay to be rounded here. You know, normally in yoga we might say to keep the spine straight and long. But in restorative, it's okay to find some roundness. Stacking your props as high as you need to go in order to make this fold comfortable, so that we're not doing any of the work. The props are just holding you in place so that you can be in the pose, breathing here. And relaxing. Maybe scanning the body from head to toe and completely checking into every muscle, individually relaxing. Releasing the forehead, unfurrowing the eyebrows, softening the jaw, releasing the shoulders. The arms get heavy. The back is heavy. The legs are heavy. And just sink right in. Maybe your arms come down to your sides, if they're not already there. allow the body to marinate in the pose. Gently rising up. Again, slowly move the props away from your body, off the mat. And we'll begin to move onto our backs. Your next pose will be a supported bridge pose. So for this, you might use a pillow, rolled up blanket, or a block or two, and just put it right above the hips, right on the small of the back, letting the shoulder blades rest, and keeping the knees lifted. Maybe you begin to let the knees fall inward towards one another so that you can just let go. And then again, perhaps covering yourself in a blanket just to keep the body warm. And then we'll be here for another 5 minutes. Letting the shoulder blades melt down, letting all the muscles in the face relax. If you have an eye pillow at home, it might feel good to put that over the eyes. Softening the arms, softening the legs. And breathing here. Soft breath, not forcing anything. Letting go of the need to control. Knowing that just being here in this moment, doing nothing, just being, is enough to to give yourself the time and the space to heal is worth it, and you deserve it. You don't always have to be working towards something or doing something that you view or society views as productive. Relaxing, self-care is productive. On a rainy day where there's nothing to do outside, we might feel the change of the atmospheric pressure and it might make us feel tired. So it's really the perfect opportunity to let our body heal and restore, to rest. So that when it becomes sunnier, when it's a new day, we can come to our responsibilities with a clearer mind, from good intentions. Relaxing more and more the longer we spend here. Finding more places, more areas to soften into, releasing the hips, releasing the face. Alright, you guys, and so our last pose, taking this block out from underneath our body, slowly releasing the low back down to the earth. For this last pose, we're going to take Supine Butterfly or Supine Bound Angle, Baddha Konasana. And so for this, letting the knees fall wide to either side, the soles of the feet are together, and then you might use your props, either pillows, books, or blocks underneath each knee, stacking them or turning them, whichever way to allow your knees to completely rest so that you're being held in that position. We don't have to do any work. We don't feel any tension. And then covering ourselves up with a blanket when you find your pose. And you guys, if you would like a little bit of a heart opener here, you can actually use a block or a pillow underneath the chest or between the shoulder blades, and then allow the heart to open up here. It's just an option. Filling in any gaps, any spaces between you and the earth. If there's space between your lower back and the ground, maybe you squeeze a blanket underneath there. You see there's a little bit of space between my back and the ground, so I'm just going to take this blanket and kind of fold it. Doesn't have to be folded nicely, like it can just be rolled. And then I might just stick it right underneath my lower back. Yeah, and then that way I'm completely held. And then my arms are just coming back down to my sides. We'll be here for about 7 minutes. Completely letting go. Enjoy the stillness for as long as it lasts. Give yourself the permission to let go and to be here. You have the right to take care of yourself, to take a break. It is safe to be you in this moment. It is safe to be home and relax. Slowly begin to bring movement into the body, bringing the legs long against the mat, moving the wrists and ankles, fingers and toes. Inhale to reach the arms up overhead, stretching long from the fingertips to the toes. And then exhale to bring the hands down through heart center. The love light in me sees that same love and light that shines in you. And where those lights meet is where we find connection, and that connection is the meaning of the word yoga. Thank you for sharing this restorative practice with me today. Namaste.